Shedeur Sanders walked into the NFL with the poise of a veteran and the confidence of someone who knows exactly who he is. He's calm, composed, and unshakably sure of his talent. So when he told reporters he believes he could start for most teams in the league, it wasn't cockiness, it was conviction. The kind of belief you want in your future franchise quarterback. But instead of embracing that fire, Kevin Stefanski all but poured cold water on it. No backing. No affirmation. Just a shrug and a sidestep. A dismissive response that instantly sent a message, not just to Shedeur, but to the entire locker room and league. We're not interested in your confidence. Sit down and wait. And now, that reaction might have lit the fuse that blows this entire regime apart.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
What Stefanski may have thought was just another media soundbite has turned into the clearest sign yet of how misaligned this coaching staff is with the moment they're in. Because while the NFL is moving faster, younger, and bolder, Stefanski is standing still, stuck in conservative decisions, leaning on aging vets, and sidelining the only player on his roster with a spark of electricity. The Browns' offense has been lifeless. Joe Flacco is doing what he does, playing it safe, moving the ball in short spurts, and giving fans zero reason to believe this team has a long-term plan. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, talented, media-savvy, confident, ready, sits and waits. Except now, it's not just the fans noticing. Sources say Jimmy Haslam, never known for his patience, was not impressed with Stefanski's reaction. And can you blame him? You've got a rookie quarterback acting more like a leader than the head coach, and instead of rallying behind that, you downplay it? That's not just a PR fumble. That's a potential fireable offense. Because this isn't just about one quote. It's about philosophy. Stefanski is coaching like it's 2010, risk-averse, control-obsessed, and terrified of letting young talent take the wheel. But the NFL isn't waiting for him to figure it out. It's evolving. And in the process, it's leaving coaches like Stefanski behind. The worst part? Sanders is handling all of this like a pro. He hasn't lashed out. He hasn't demanded a trade. He just keeps showing up, staying locked in, and waiting for his shot. But if the Browns keep mishandling this, other teams willing to bet on upside, will come calling. And Jimmy Haslam knows that. Which is why, behind closed doors, things are getting tense. Because one thing's clear, you can't build a future while rejecting the very players who are the future. And if Kevin Stefanski can't see what he has in Shedeur Sanders, then someone else will. Shedeur Sanders is the type of quarterback you build around. He's talented. He's confident. He's composed. His statement, "I can start for most NFL teams," wasn't arrogance. It was accountability. And instead of leaning into that mindset, instead of backing his young player, Kevin Stefanski downplayed it. Not a word of encouragement. No sign of trust. Just a brush-off. And for an organization that has spent the better part of 2 decades searching for a real franchise quarterback, this moment matters. Reports say Jimmy Haslam noticed. And if there's one thing Haslam's track record proves, it's this: he doesn't sit on dysfunction. He pulls the trigger. And in this case, he might have to. The Browns are not just dealing with a coaching philosophy clash. They're staring down a full-on identity crisis. Stefanski's conservative approach isn't just holding back one quarterback. It's holding back the entire team. He's shown a clear reluctance to take risks, a stubborn loyalty to veterans like Joe Flacco, and a flat-out refusal to embrace the type of bold, developmental mindset that actually wins in today's NFL. And Shedeur? He's stuck in the middle of all of it. Let's break it down. Shedeur Sanders has shown leadership, humility, and professionalism in the face of blatant undervaluation. He's handled the pressure with maturity. He hasn't caused distractions. He hasn't demanded starts. He said what any self-respecting quarterback should say: "I'm ready." And he left it at that. That's not a media ploy. That's not a shot at anyone. That's a competitor doing what competitors do. The response from Stefanski? Chilling silence. A passive-aggressive shrug. A complete disconnect from what's required to nurture young talent in this league. This isn't just poor communication. It's a failure of leadership. And it's becoming impossible for Jimmy Haslam to ignore. The whispers are getting louder, within the building, from insiders, even among the players. The disconnect between Stefanski and the younger core is real. His playbook is outdated. His strategies are predictable. His risk aversion is slowly strangling the spark out of a team that's ready for something new. The coaching staff has also failed to incorporate other young talents like Dylan Gabriel. It's not just Shedeur being left on the shelf. It's a systemic issue. A cultural problem. Stefanski is not building for the future. He's clinging to the past. And the locker room is starting to feel it. Veterans are confused. Rookies are frustrated. Morale? Hanging by a thread. And outside of Cleveland, other franchises are watching this play out with interest. Front offices around the league have started circling. The Giants, Raiders, and Panthers are reportedly monitoring the situation. Because Shedeur Sanders, despite the Browns' hesitancy, is absolutely seen as a potential franchise QB. These teams know what he brings to the table. If the Browns don't want him, someone else will. If Stefanski continues to mishandle this, Shedeur leaving isn't just a possibility, it's a probability. And when that happens, when Shedeur Sanders walks out of that locker room and onto a team that actually values him, the Browns will have no one to blame but themselves. This is where Haslam's decision becomes urgent. Does he protect his coach? A coach who has clearly shown an inability or unwillingness to evolve, to develop young quarterbacks, to respond to leadership with support? Or does he protect his investment? A first-round quarterback who could change the franchise's direction if properly nurtured? Because the two paths are incompatible. You can't keep Stefanski and expect Shedeur Sanders to stay long-term. Not after this. Not after being dismissed so publicly and supported so little. Haslam's dilemma is bigger than one quarterback or one press conference. This is about the entire future of the franchise. If he waits too long, the Browns risk becoming that team again. The team that had the guy. The team that could have built something special. And let it slip away. And let's be honest, Cleveland can't afford another what-if era. They've seen talent come and go. They've watched young stars blossom in other cities while their own program resets over and over again. The fan base has been through enough. And now that they finally have a young quarterback with real potential and real leadership, the last thing they want is to see him sidelined into oblivion. Shedeur Sanders has been patient. That alone speaks volumes. He's shown more discipline than most rookies would under these conditions. But patience is not a permanent strategy. Every day he doesn't get the backing he deserves, the more inevitable his departure becomes. And when it happens, the fallout won't be small. It'll be another mark on the Browns' already bruised legacy. Another promising chapter, prematurely closed. Another young leader turned into a cautionary tale. The crazy part? All of this could be fixed. Stefanski could change course. He could open up reps for Sanders. He could praise his confidence. He could do literally anything to show he's invested in development. But he won't. And that's why Haslam is reportedly done waiting. Because time is running out. Every week that passes, the Browns are burning through valuable development time, locker room trust, and ownership patience. This is no longer just about a misquote. This is about how a team responds when the future asks to be taken seriously. So far, they've responded with silence. With fear. With the same play-it-safe mindset that's kept them in purgatory for years. Shedeur Sanders doesn't belong in purgatory. He belongs at the center of a franchise ready to grow. Ready to bet on its own talent. Ready to break the cycle. If the Browns aren't ready to be that franchise, then Jimmy Haslam needs to act before it's too late. And Kevin Stefanski? His window might have just slammed shut. Let us know what you think. Should Haslam fire Stefanski now before things spiral out of control? Has Shedeur been wronged, or is this all part of the process? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed, because with the Browns, the next disaster is always one bad press conference away. The Cleveland Browns have all the pieces for a compelling comeback story, a roster with depth, a fan base that's been through hell and still shows up, and a young quarterback in Shedeur Sanders who could be the guy. Not just a face for the team, a franchise cornerstone. But instead of taking that momentum and running with it, the team is standing still. Worse, they're running in reverse. And who's driving that regression? Kevin Stefanski. Let's cut through the noise. Stefanski's response to Shedeur Sanders wasn't just dismissive, it was strategically damaging. When Sanders said he believed he was ready to start for most NFL teams, he didn't say it with arrogance. He didn't toss anyone under the bus. He spoke with confidence, with composure, with the exact energy you want from a QB1. But rather than embrace that fire, rather than fuel it, Stefanski doused it like it was a PR fire. And now, that cold water moment has turned into a 5-alarm blaze inside the Browns organization. Reports are already floating that Jimmy Haslam is beyond frustrated with Stefanski, not just over the comment, but over a pattern of tone-deaf leadership decisions. And when you take a step back, the pattern is obvious. Let's line it up. Sanders shows confidence. Stefanski shuts it down. Dylan Gabriel shows upside. Stefanski ignores it. Joe Flacco gets the nod. The offense stalls. Ownership watches another year of safe football fail to produce playoff results. Tensions rise. This isn't coaching conservatively. This is coaching scared. And that fear is infecting the entire franchise. Let's not pretend this is a one-player issue. It's a leadership breakdown. Stefanski's philosophy, his rotations, his public messaging, all of it points to a coach who refuses to embrace growth and instead clings to veterans and outdated schemes like a safety blanket. And the result? Young, promising players are being systematically sidelined. No matter how hard Sanders works, no matter how much character he shows, it's not moving the needle in a system designed to suppress risk. And that is the Browns' fatal flaw. The NFL doesn't reward teams that wait for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. You either build now or you fall behind. The good teams are bold. The great ones are fearless. And the Browns? They're trying to win 2025 games with 2018 strategies. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders for a moment. Because while this drama keeps swirling around him, he hasn't cracked. Not once. No tweets. No public frustration. Just steady professionalism. And that's what makes this so painful to watch. Because you know who doesn't act like that under pressure? Rookies who aren't ready. Sanders is ready. Ready to lead. Ready to grow. Ready to prove himself. He has the poise. He has the patience. He has the pedigree. And Cleveland? They're wasting it. And now, you better believe other teams are watching with interest. The Raiders. The Panthers. The Giants. These are organizations that would hand Sanders the keys and say, drive. Because they see what the Browns refuse to acknowledge. That Sanders is a rare combination of talent, maturity, and leadership. And if Cleveland fumbles him, they don't just lose a player. They lose their future. This is where Jimmy Haslam has to make a decision. Because this coaching staff has backed itself into a corner. Either Stefanski finally evolves, or he gets left behind. Because what's clear now is that you can't have both Kevin Stefanski and a fully realized Shedeur Sanders. The philosophies are incompatible. You cannot develop a confident young quarterback in a system that doesn't value confidence. You cannot build a bold new identity for the Browns while your head coach is still calling plays like he's afraid of what might go wrong instead of hungry for what might go right. And Haslam knows this. He's seen it before. Quarterbacks who weren't developed. Head coaches who played it safe. Seasons that ended not with a bang, but with a shrug. And he's not interested in repeating it. Sources say he's seriously considering a coaching change. And if he wants to keep Shedeur Sanders long-term, he might not have a choice. Let's say what everyone's thinking. If Sanders walks because of how he was handled here, it will haunt this team for a decade. There's no spinning that. Not to fans. Not to the locker room. Not to the league. The Browns would once again become a cautionary tale. The team that had the guy and didn't know it. And Shedeur? He'll thrive somewhere else. He'll go to a franchise that's not afraid to let him lead. He'll get reps. He'll get confidence. He'll get support. And he'll win. Just like every Browns QB who's left Cleveland and found peace, stability, or redemption elsewhere. This isn't speculation. This is the NFL cycle. It happens every year. But this time? It doesn't have to. If the Browns just do the right thing. Start trusting the young talent. Stop hiding behind safe football. Give Shedeur Sanders the chance he's earned. Because this situation? It's not sustainable. The fan base knows it. The players know it. Ownership knows it. So what now? Do you let the season burn out slowly under a coach who refuses to evolve? Or do you take action now, hand the keys to someone who believes in growth, and finally, build around a quarterback who wants to be here? Because Shedeur Sanders has been everything this franchise said it wanted: professional, composed, and hungry. And what has he gotten in return? Silence, shrugs, and schemes designed to keep him off the field. It's not a matter of if the Browns lose Sanders. It's when, unless something changes fast. And the only person who can make that change? Jimmy Haslam. The clock is ticking. Stefanski's time is running out. And if the Browns don't act quickly, they're going to wake up in a season or two with another jersey burned, another quarterback gone, and another regret added to the pile. Cleveland deserves better. The fans deserve better. Shedeur Sanders deserves better. This is the moment. The fork in the road. Let's not sugarcoat what's happening in Cleveland right now, because the truth doesn't need glitter to sting. The Browns had a moment. A real one. A rare alignment of talent, timing, and leadership potential in Shedeur Sanders. But instead of leaning in, instead of saying, yes, let's build something around this, Kevin Stefanski chose the path of resistance. He chose to downplay it, to sideline it, to suppress it. And now, Jimmy Haslam is being forced into the most important decision of his ownership tenure. Because this isn't just about Stefanski's handling of Shedeur. It's about what kind of team the Cleveland Browns want to be going forward. Are they going to keep living in fear of making the wrong move? Or are they finally ready to be bold? Let's get brutally honest. Stefanski's refusal to back Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a coaching decision, it was a culture-defining moment. And it defined that culture as scared, stale, and stagnant. He had an opportunity to say, that's what I want in a quarterback: confidence, drive, hunger. Instead, he treated Sanders' self-belief like a PR problem. He dismissed it in a press conference. And in doing so, sent a very loud message. Your ambition isn't welcome here. That kind of response doesn't just affect Shedeur. It echoes across the locker room. What do you think it tells young players who are grinding every day to prove themselves? That no matter how ready they are, how hard they work, or how badly they want it, if it doesn't fit into Stefanski's slow, veteran-friendly blueprint, it doesn't matter? What message does that send? Because in the modern NFL, development is everything. And if you're not actively cultivating your young players, you're just delaying your decline. Meanwhile, Shedeur has done everything right. Let's say that again. Everything. He's shown up. He's kept his head down. He's spoken up only when it mattered. His confidence? Not arrogant. Just authentic. It wasn't about calling out teammates or demanding starts. It was about saying, I know what I can do, and I'm ready to prove it. That's not the kind of energy you stifle. That's the kind of energy you build around. And yet, Stefanski has shown zero urgency to develop him. Zero creativity. Zero adaptation. Just the same tired routine. Play it safe, start the vet, and pray the season doesn't implode. But let's be real, it already is. The internal tension? Palpable. The locker room morale? Wavering. The fan base? Beyond frustrated. They're not just losing games, they're losing faith. Meanwhile, Shedeur sits. Waiting. Watching. Wasting time. And now, other teams are watching too. Franchises like the Giants, Panthers, Raiders, they smell opportunity. They know a franchise quarterback when they see one. And if the Browns can't recognize what they have, someone else will. It's not a question of if, it's when. So Jimmy Haslam has to ask himself, who do you lose first? Because this situation isn't staying quiet forever. If Haslam keeps Stefanski, he risks losing Shedeur, and with him, the most promising QB prospect the Browns have had in years. If he fires Stefanski, he buys time to salvage the locker room, restore direction, and rebuild around a player who actually wants to be in Cleveland. Let's not forget, Haslam's coaching history is already under the microscope. He's had a quick trigger finger in the past. But this time, the stakes are different. Because Stefanski isn't just underperforming. He's actively blocking the growth of the player the team needs most. You don't win by silencing potential. You win by unlocking it. And what makes this even harder to watch is that Stefanski wasn't always this guy. When he arrived in Cleveland, he brought order to chaos. He helped the Browns look like a real football team again. But somewhere along the line, that discipline turned to rigidity. That control turned into fear. And that fear? It's driving every decision he makes. Play it safe. Stick to veterans. Avoid controversy. Keep everything tidy. Except, tidy doesn't win championships. And it certainly doesn't develop quarterbacks. The Browns are watching a Ferrari collect dust in the garage because the coach is scared it might scratch the paint. Meanwhile, the league is getting faster, younger, and more aggressive by the week. This is how dynasties start, and how they collapse. Cleveland isn't being left behind because they lack talent. They're being left behind because they lack vision. Vision to see that Shedeur Sanders isn't a threat to the team's structure. He is the structure. He's the cornerstone. He's the energy, the identity, the leader you need when the chips are down. But instead, they're letting him rot on the bench. And what happens if he does get traded? Let's be clear, he'll shine. Not because Cleveland prepared him well, but because other teams believe in what Stefanski won't. They'll give him a scheme that fits his play style, a coaching staff that speaks his language, a locker room that rallies behind him. And the Browns? They'll be left trying to spin another rebuild, drafting another quarterback, selling the same tired hope they've been peddling for 20 years. We've seen this movie before. The Browns finally get something special. They mishandle it. That player thrives somewhere else. The Browns go back to the drawing board. And the fans? They're expected to keep showing up. Keep believing. Except this time, they won't. Because Shedeur Sanders is a line in the sand. If Cleveland loses him due to politics, ego, or outdated coaching strategies, the fan base will revolt. And they should. So what now? Jimmy Haslam has to make a call. Not at the end of the season. Not after more evaluation. Because Stefanski isn't going to change. He's shown his hand. And it's full of folded opportunities. You can't build a future while holding on to a coach who's stuck in the past. The NFL doesn't wait. The fans don't wait. And Shedeur Sanders won't wait forever. If the Browns want to keep him, they need to start acting like it. That means new leadership. A fresh approach. A system that nurtures confidence, not punishes it. Because if they don't, this franchise will become exactly what people say it is. A place where talent goes to die. Let's stop pretending Stefanski can fix this. He had his chance. He blew it. Now it's time to do what needs to be done before another talent slips through the cracks. And this one might just be the most costly of all. Let us know where you stand. Is it time for Jimmy Haslam to fire Kevin Stefanski? Should the Browns finally unleash Shedeur Sanders? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're tired of watching the Browns sabotage themselves year after year, hit that subscribe button. Because this story isn't over, and the next chapter could change everything.